Good morning. We'll start with short introductions by the Secretary General and the President, and then they'll be happy to take a few questions. Secretary General.
President Rumen Radев, welcome so much to NATO headquarters, and congratulations on your appointment as President. And I would also like to say welcome back to NATO headquarters, because you told me that you have been working here many years ago, and that just underlines your personal commitment and understanding of the importance of NATO. And in your previous role as commander of the Bulgarian Air Force, you helped to keep our airspace safe. And I know that you will remain committed to NATO and to our shared security now in your new role as President. For almost 13 years, Bulgaria has been a valued ally, making many important contributions to our collective defense. You provide ships to NATO patrols in the Black Sea, and you play a key role in the security of your region through your contributions to NATO presence in Kosovo, your support for the Euro-Atlantic integration of the Western Balkans, and your assistance to Ukraine, where you lead the NATO Trust Fund on medical rehabilitation. I'm also very grateful for your strong commitment to NATO's presence in Afghanistan, helping to fight terrorism and to prevent that Afghanistan once again becomes a safe haven for international terrorism. I met Bulgarian troops in Afghanistan, and it's great to be able to tell you that they were very professional, very committed, and we are proud of having Bulgarian troops as part of our presence in Afghanistan. The security environment which surrounds us is changing. We see a more assertive Russia. We see the turmoil and the violence to the south, terrorism. And we see cyber attacks and hybrid warfare. NATO is responding. We are responding by increasing our presence, both in the southeast of the alliance and in the Baltic countries and in Poland. We are strengthening our presence in the Black Sea region with a package of measures on land, at sea, and in the air. And we will finalize this work at our meeting of defense ministers in February. And several allies have already indicated they will contribute to this presence, a strong sign of NATO solidarity. But security does not come for free. Therefore, we have to increase defense spending. And I welcome that Bulgaria has now started to increase its investments in defense. I think this just underscores the commitment of Bulgaria to NATO and to NATO decisions to strengthen our collective defense and to increase defense spending. NATO does not want confrontation with Russia. We don't seek confrontation with Russia. We don't want a new Cold War. So our response is measured, it is transparent, and it is defensive. But it sends a clear signal that we stand together, that all allies are ready to protect each other, defending one another. So, President, welcome once again to NATO headquarters. It's great to see you, and I look forward to working with you. Welcome once again.
Благодаря. Уважаеми господин генерален секретар.
Secretary General,
Благодаря за вашето гостоприемство.
thank you for your hospitality
И за топлите думи
and
за
for the
България.
kind words about Bulgaria
И за роля и принос към
and about its role and contribution to NATO.
Благодаря за възможността да обменим
Help you for
важни
this
мнения
possibility to exchange important opinions currently on the agenda of the alliance. The very fact that me, in my capacity as Bulgarian president, on my very first visit abroad, am visiting the headquarters of NATO shows the importance that Bulgaria attaches to NATO as an organization of shared values and of shared responsibilities to our collective security and defense. To us, in Bulgaria, NATO remains an extremely important organization to defend the safety and security of the allies and to guarantee stability beyond the borders of NATO. It is especially important for us that all the opinions that we exchange today, we support NATO efforts to defend and deter. And we believe that Bulgaria is part of these efforts, and we will continue in the future to make every effort, all it takes, to guarantee the common contribution to collective security and defense. Over the last 3 years, NATO has been undergoing a very serious adaptation, and Bulgaria has been part of this adaptation, and this process will continue and be taken further because this is what the international situation calls for at the moment. I have assured the Secretary General that Bulgaria will make the maximum effort to reach the Wales Summit decisions, to reach the benchmark of 2% of the GDP for defense spending. This is extremely important for our capabilities, and every country member of the alliance needs to remain committed to the 2% benchmark, because this is what will guarantee our security. I also assured the Secretary General that we do all it takes to modernize the Bulgarian armed forces by implementing the investment projects for modernization already adopted by the Bulgarian Parliament as an investment expenditure project. It is also important to us that NATO continues to consolidate its efforts in the combat against international terrorism, combat against illegal trafficking in humans and illegal migrants. This, for us, is extremely important. And really, from the dialogue that I had with the Secretary General, I feel NATO's support on this important issue. I highly appreciate NATO's role in the Western Balkans as a guarantor for security. And once again, I'd like to thank the Secretary General for this opportunity today to exchange really very important for Bulgaria and for the Alliance opinions and topics. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? BTV?
Hello, dear Secretary General and Mr. President. My question is related to the policy concerning Russia that will be led by the new President of the United States, Donald Trump, and how do you think, in what aspect do you think this policy will affect the biggest reinforcement along the eastern flank of NATO, which is the biggest reinforcement that we've had since the end of the Second World War? How will Donald Trump's policy affect this?
I spoke with then President-elect Donald Trump after he was elected in November, and I also spoken with Secretary of Defense Mattis recently, and they have all conveyed the same message, that the United States will remain committed to NATO, to the transatlantic bond, and that it's not only something that they say, but we also see now that the United States is actually increasing its presence in Europe. There is a strong bipartisan support in the Congress, and the Congress has quadrupled funding for the European Reassurance Initiative, which is funding increased military presence of the United States in Europe, with a new brigade, with more training, with more exercises, and with more pre-positioned equipment and supplies. So this is a strong political commitment, but it's also followed by, with deeds, more presence in Europe. And when it comes to the relationship to Russia, I would like to underline that our increased presence in Europe is a measured and proportionate response to the behavior of Russia and a more assertive Russia, which has implemented a significant military buildup over many years, and which has used military force against a neighbor, against Ukraine. NATO is responding, but we are responding in a defensive way, in a measured way. We don't want a confrontation. We don't want a new Cold War. So we are keeping the channels for political dialogue open with Russia. And the message from the incoming administration is that the new US administration is that they also want dialogue with Russia, but it's based on strength. And I think that's exactly the same message that we are conveying from the whole alliance. And we agreed in Warsaw at our summit that we need strong defense, but also political dialogue with Russia. And I look forward to work together with the new president and his security team on exactly on how to implement and how to follow up that message.
Bulgarian National Radio, just behind, lady there.
Will Bulgaria this year take part in more large-scale operations or trainings with the allies, and what do you think will be the greatest challenge to NATO in the coming months?
Well, Bulgaria is participating in many different kinds of training and exercises in NATO and with the NATO allies. Actually, tomorrow there will be a new multinational exercise that will start in the Black Sea, a maritime exercise with the participation of Bulgaria, but also with ships from Canada, from the United States, from Turkey, and from other NATO allied countries. So it just illustrates that there are several exercises, different kinds of training activities where Bulgaria participate. And this is a part of the increased presence in the southeast of Europe with more patrols in the Black Sea and also with more exercises, and Bulgaria is part of that.
Ако мога да допълня само, за нас
If I can just add, our participation in NATO is very important for us, not only because it increases the security in our region, it's extremely important because it enhances the military capability of our armed forces, because in each such exercise we acquire new tactics, new techniques, and new procedures.
Okay, one very last quick question, Wall Street Journal.
Maybe not quick. To the president, I wonder if you think it's time for sanctions against Russia to be eased, and whether you think more broadly NATO should pursue improved relationship with Russia, given Mr. Trump's desires for cooperation on counterterrorism. To the Secretary General, I wonder if you could comment on the sanctions issue, but also the Iranians test-fired a ballistic missile. I wonder if this, what you think this says about the relevance of NATO missile defense, and whether missile defense systems should be on the table in discussions with Russia.
First of all, the increase of the defense and deterrence posture of NATO should be hand in hand, as Secretary General said, with deepening the political dialogue with Russia in order to avoid confrontation and misunderstandings and to lower the risks. And as President Trump also shared, the main challenges and threats today come from international terrorism, countering the Islamic State. These are all threats that cannot be tackled unless NATO and Russia have common efforts on this, both in the Middle East and in the global fight against terrorism.
We are looking into the nature of what happened and the details surrounding the ballistic missile launch. So I cannot comment on the details of that incident. But what I can say is that NATO continues to develop its ballistic missile defense system because we see that several nations, including Iran, are developing different kinds of ballistic missiles. and are testing and strengthening their systems. And that just underlines that NATO has to continue to develop a ballistic missile defense system. Our BMD, or our ballistic missile defense, is not directed against Russia. It's directed against threats coming from outside the Euro-Atlantic area. We have previously offered Russia to work together with them on this. Then Russia rejected, and NATO has continued to develop our system, which is a defensive system, and it's a way to protect Europe against missile threats.
Thank you very much. This concludes this press point.
Oh, sorry, sanctions.
Sanctions.
Sanctions is part of the response from many countries to the aggressive actions of Russia against Ukraine. The sanctions are decided by the European Union, the United States, and other countries. It's not a NATO decision, but I have supported and welcomed the sanctions. What NATO has done is that we have responded by increasing our military presence in the eastern part of the alliance, and we are continuing to do exactly that by implementing the decisions on enhanced and tailored forward presence. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.